idea of the elevation is really to get the best expression of our vineyard. We started off in 1997 with a wine we called Reserve. Then our vineyard was only 4 years old. So we tried over a few years with various blends and also getting some grapes from our neighbor as well. And then in 2000 it was our first vintage of Elevation 393, and we felt that the vineyard was just mature enough to have a wine under that label. The idea of the label is the elevation of our house, which is in the middle of the vineyard, and the height above sea level is 393 meters. So it's really combining my architectural background with passion for wine and really the love of creating something from the soil upwards to something special in the bottle is what kind of inspires me, I suppose. So from our first vintage of Elevation, which was 2000, the vines were about 6 or 7 years old then. So over the years, obviously the vineyard has matured, so we've got a little more structure, a little more depth and concentration to the wine. We've also replanted some sections, so it's constantly evolving. So in the last 15 years leading up to the 2015 harvest, we've obviously learned a lot about our vineyard and kind of learned which little micro pockets, little parcels of vineyard do best. Each harvest we go around and demarcate certain sections that we want to leave out to pick later, and so on. Our biggest fermentation tank is 2 tons, so we do anything from basically about a third of a ton through to 2 tons. So between basically 1 barrel and 6 barrels is our kind of fermentation lot, which is really pretty small. So it's really kind of micro vinifying the vineyard with an eye on producing the best possible wine. Everything is grown kind of equally, and we've learned equally across the vineyard, but some sections do better than others, and we pick those separately. In terms of the barrels, we've kind of refined how we use the barrels, and in some vintages we've actually put some wine into bigger oak for a period of time, and that sort of thing. So 2015 was really a fabulous vintage, one of our best ever. I think that's general consensus in the Stellenbosch area and other parts of the Cape as well. I think what was special about 2015 as well is that it didn't seem at the time a particularly exceptional vintage, but almost as a group, as we started to speak with other winemakers, and when we tasted what was in the fermentation tanks and going into barrel as young wine, suddenly we realized we had such an exceptional vintage. Great fruit concentration, a lot of structure, but the structure is kind of hidden by the fruit. And I think it's a vintage that drinks well as a young wine, but has tremendous aging potential. I think that certainly it's got really great structure and great fruit intensity. So with the Elevation, it's a blend of different varieties, and the other thing with 2015 was pretty much across the board, all the varieties were exceptional. Elevation is a selection of our best barrels, and I think it's really great to be releasing it at this point now. We waited a little bit longer because, you know, it's still a pretty young wine. It would be best to still keep it for 5 years preferably. We can't wait too long. So I think it's a nice time to release it, knowing that it's going to be so much better in the future, but still really good to drink now. With the 2015 vintage, it was a kind of seamless, easy vintage. It wasn't, you know, a vintage where you had to do any particular tricks or anything. The wine pretty much made itself, and we're extremely excited and proud of this wine.